Ah, Fortnite, the gift that keeps on giving. There never really seems to be a limit to what this game can and will do. Not even the sky. And this constant winding road of change that has allowed this game to survive longer than the oldest age cheeses in Europe has been long underpinned by the golden geese of new chapters. And if you've been playing for a while, there's a good chance that the hype from those earlier chapters might be burnt into your brain just as much when you was watching Toy Story and had your eyes assaulted by the monstrosities that were Sid's toys. All of this mystery over how the game would transform and what you could expect out of an entirely new era was kind of like reliving the birth cycle all over again. But with Chapter 7, things unfolded very differently. Now with previous chapters, it was pretty normal for a few things to bust nut. You know, a few details like battle pass skins, POIs, or key movement mechanics to start spraying like wildfire in the final days. But in the lead up to Chapter 7, everything broke out. This wasn't just a leak, this was the Titanic sink and reincarnate. Now you got stuff floating around like the mini-map, you got a bunch of crystal clear gameplay screenshots.
I'm in danger!
A wingsuit straight out of Just Cause, the entire battle pass, the bus driver is fucking dead.
You'll never see Cybertron again. You will die here on this miserable planet.
Hello, motherfucker.
Just a whole bunch of stuff spoiled just like that. Now this isn't quite the first time that we've seen Epic soil their pants to this degree in terms of leaking shit. You might remember that roadmap that leaked in the middle of Chapter 5 that spoiled Fortnite's pipeline for the rest of that year. That thing included not just future seasons such as the second Marvel season and Chapter 2 remix, but also a whole bunch of other content for the other metaverse modes that had just come out at the time. Well, most.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't.
However, Chapter 7's leaks were different. That roadmap leaking out was either a genuine mistake on Epic's part, or rest in peace the career of whoever had let that whole shit show off the chains. But what separates Chapter 7 from that roadmap is that these leaks were essentially of Epic's own doing this time around. So first, let's set the stage for this story. So to promote Chapter 7 in the lead up to its release, Epic did this huge premiere event in Los Angeles that was basically a Hollywood Met Gala, and it was probably the biggest promotion Epic has done yet in Fortnite's entire history. Like, you had actual celebrities visiting, especially the director and the cast of the Kill Bill films.
Hey, are you Bill?
Yeah. Oh! That was easy.
They even teased a short film called Yuki's Revenge, which then fully released in game after a few days of the chapter launch.
You bitch! You shot me in my breast! You asshole!
I won't get too far off topic, but this short was based on a script from 20 years ago before the first Kill Bill started shooting, and the short film we just got was actually really accurate to the original thing apparently, almost like staring down a hall of mirrors in an amusement park. But here's the kicker. As part of this premiere, Epic also invited several streamers and content creators to try out their new chapter early, and they weren't exactly trying to keep that hidden from socials, were they? Epic was basically asking for trouble doing this, because good luck keeping the Jack in the Box from an early access event like that. Now you may remember they also did this for the Simpsons season recently, where they allowed certain content creators to unveil gameplay early before it came out. And I know it might be a pretty divisive topic in the community whether we should be getting early peeks inside the box like that, since it can ruin part of the hype for people when we know there's about to be a train going full speed into our faces. In the particular case of the Simpsons season, I think it made a lot of sense to open the box early given how suspicious people were of the season at first glance. But doing that for an entire new chapter? I think that's just complete insanity. If you're like me, you may remember how the earliest chapter launches used to be like so secret and mysterious. During the Black Hole event after Season X, no one had any idea what was going on because like no one had thought of the idea of an entirely new chapter that like essentially rebooted the game. We all thought Fortnite would do just Season 11, Season 12, 13, 14 and so on. Chapter 3's launch also came with some similar surprises, such as Chapter 2 ending after only 8 seasons, but it was mainly underpinned by a quantum leap in the lore where the 7 were finally at the forefront after eons of us knowing almost fuck all about them. Chapter 4's launch was also a surprise, since Chapter 3 would be ending after only 4 seasons over the span of 1 year, as opposed to 2 like the previous chapters. But ever since then, especially with 1 year now being the Krabby Patty secret formula, we've all very much become accustomed to the usual cycle of a new chapter launch. It's not as easy to be mind blown by these new chapters now. You can't just keep shooting out new toys and it still expects people to have no idea what they're getting themselves into. But that doesn't mean new chapter launches don't mean anything now. They're still a significant part of Fortnite's culture. The premiere for Chapter 7's launch especially may be the biggest promo Epic has done yet, as I said earlier, with all these celebrities visiting and everything. Yet it feels kind of ridiculous to treat this new chapter without the mystery that parted earlier chapter launches in a similar way to Avengers Infinity War. Once all that gameplay and those screenshots made their way out of the venue, yeah, there was still a ton of hype, but now it just kind of went from really hype to just really hype. And that's still a noteworthy thing given how people just raved at Danny Phantom being a thing in the item shop. Now look, I'm not at all saying the premiere was a stupid idea to promote Chapter 7 just because it led to leaks worse than Guna's faction to spice a Raven team leader. Epic has done plenty of huge events like this in the past to promote upcoming seasons and previous chapter launches, such as having the Battle Bus in the Monster Jam for Chapter 5 Season 3, the Chapter 2 remix prelude existing in real life in New York City, and probably a few other things I can't remember anymore. What was a stupid idea, however, was allowing content creators and other people into the premiere to peek at early gameplay without snatching their phones or recorders, or really doing any proper security measures to make sure that shit doesn't get leaked.
But wait! There's more!
I think my theory behind these leaks is that Epic was actually okay with this happening to some degree. A theory that was compounded by several of those content creators publicly posting their early access videos on YouTube and other socials. Now these videos started coming out after the event had already happened, so it's not exactly a big deal by that point. But I think it just brings up the prospect that Epic wasn't as interested in keeping Chapter 7 under wraps as they were with previous chapter launches like Chapter 2 or Chapter 3.
I ask why.
I think the first major factor is that leakers are nothing if not a nosy bunch. Most leakers, though not all, will go to the ends of the earth to dig out any crumbs from Epic's secrets out of curiosity or spite. And with so many different available methods for these leakers to uncover what awaits inside the game files or even in Epic's own headquarters, trying to keep everything locked down has become just as difficult as keeping your base secret on 2v2t. They gotta keep everything airtight, cause even just one small mistake or one heretic within their ranks, that can cascade into juice breaking out earlier than it should be. Now this issue isn't isolated to Fortnite. Like, do you remember when someone leaked the trailer for GTA 6? The second, and I think the most significant factor, is that people aren't getting any more naive or stupid. When Chapter 2 came out, it felt mind-blowing seeing all the new stuff they added, some of which we consider basic now, such as swimming and fishing and the new kind of terrain. Like, yeah, we still get plenty of new stuff with every chapter now, but it's hard for them to feel jaw-dropping but like before since expectations have broadened out so much. It feels like we've already seen everything. Now there is the perspective of newer players who may still have their brains blown out by this new stuff since they haven't been playing as long or haven't developed as many expectations with the game, but that doesn't remove the previous precedent that has been set in the public eye in the past. These babies aren't going in as blind as the veterans once did when they themselves first jumped into what was once effectively just an indie game or test bench all those years ago. Even before their first drop out of the bus, the new players may already know about how Fortnite changes its maps and reskins its loot pools every year in addition to all the previous stuff they tried, such as UFOs, weapon mods, mechs, collabs, all that kind of stuff. They won't have the same experience that the veterans did, because they are not jumping into an entirely new world, but instead a world that has already been explored and understood. Standards will never be the same as before. And like I said with the leakers, this issue also isn't isolated to Fortnite. It's just human nature. You simply aren't as easily surprised by things that have already been discovered and understood, even if not by yourself beforehand. If you look at the tech industry, when the first iPhone came out, it blew open a whole entire universe of imagination. People were imagining, theorizing, puzzling over what phones could look like or do in the future. Well, here's your answer. Now that universe has been scraped out bone dry, and everyone getting their first new phone nowadays won't get the same level of wonder that the early adopters did. This is also why older channels on YouTube tend to upload more niche or elaborate videos in their later years as opposed to the simpler and more grounded topics they covered earlier on. They're trying to uncover new things and new ideas, and their viewers have a better idea of what to expect from them. Linus Tech Tips, for example. They originally started out reviewing small things like computer cases, pre-builts, keyboards and mice, a fucking toy fire truck that has come out one of the most popular videos ever. Nowadays, you'll see them more often do weird shit like niche or expensive tech, cooling a PC with cement, unboxing an actual fire truck, all that outlandish kind of stuff. You can even see this phenomenon in the big Fortnite content creators themselves as well. You know, the same ones who got early access to the Simpsons season in Chapter 7. Laserbeam used to do all kinds of dumb shit science in every update back in Chapter 1. Now he almost never uploads anymore, though he's always still trying to break the game in classic fashion when he does.
Hey, welcome back to Fortnite Battle Royale Green Gun Challenge. Remember when playing with green guns was like an actual video?
Yeah, I do. I was in high school when those kinds of videos existed. Now I am the old man telling the war stories. Then there's Lockie, Muselk, Cypher, probably a few others. They all also used to do all sorts of silly challenges and mess around with new items in every update. Now Lockie only uploads more hardcore challenges or extravagant antics once every week or two. Music also slowed down in similar fashion before just straight up disappearing. Cypher has managed to stay fairly consistent compared to just about everyone else, but he also doesn't cover every individual new thing like he used to. And that's the pattern that I've noticed between all of them. These content creators aren't covering the game in depth as much anymore, meaning the new weapons and items aren't getting as much documentation as they would have years ago. Their priorities have shifted as their careers have advanced and expanded. Okay, wow, I was not expecting to get so deeply philosophical there for a while. Like, I just turned into Zenyatta for a bit, didn't I? But my point is, it's hard to surprise people with something that's already been mined out of its novelty and mystery.
This is Ultra Lord!
Sheen, this is the 7th week in a row you've shown Ultra Lord in class!
And I think that's why Epic was so lenient with how Chapter 7 leaked, to the point that they essentially shot any chance of keeping things locked down in the foot with that premiere and early access event. Now in the long term, I don't think it's going to affect most people's perception of the new season or chapter if it gets leaked out early like this after all. What matters most is whether you enjoy the new season yourself once you're in the loop. I won't lie, it's been difficult with how clunky and garbage half the loophole is. What the f- Oh my fucking god. Where did you even come from? Like, Epic, you gotta buff some of these weapons, man. I personally think it would have been worth for Epic to try harder to keep their shit in their britches before the chapter actually launched, but given that expectations and standards have evolved so much since the Black Hole event, I can understand why Epic just didn't bother. Now before I end this video, I'm gonna ask you a question. What do you think of this whole situation? Should Chapter 7 have been kept under the wraps before launch? Should Epic have done more to make it so? Or is it okay that it got leaked out? Do you think Epic is okay with how all these leaks played out? And do you think Epic should do more early access events for seasonal chapter launches or not?